live, I think. I'm a little bit out of breath after running up and down the stairs. Breathe. Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome to Love Speaks Love with my fabulous guest today, Melissa Deehan. Welcome, sweetheart.
Yay. Thank you. It's epic to be here with you.
We've
been planning on doing this for a while.
Yeah, we have. It's been interesting. It's been a recent connect, but it feels a really strong one. And it feels like it's always been there, even though it's only actually been quite recent.
Yeah. That first time we were talking for like an hour and a half, nearly 2 hours, and it was like, yeah, I'll chat to you tomorrow. You're like, oh yeah, you know, that kind of feel. It's amazing.
All right, just bear with me a second while I just share it to, if you want to share it anywhere, feel free. I'm going to share it to my pages. And to Love Speaks Love. So you're going to share it to Solargy, so I can skip that one. Thank you. I see some people have shared it already. Share there. Done. So here we are.
I start laughing again.
Laughter is good. Okay, so while people are gathering, hi everybody, and thank you for joining us. There's quite a few people there that I don't know, so they must be your family, I think. I'm going to take that off, a bit too warm. Having a bit of a flush. All right, so while everyone's gathering, I will do the heart-to-heart connect. Okay, so, and the reason why I do this is really to encourage people to be in their heart space, because I do feel that the more of us are in our heart space and the more often, what an amazing world we will live in. And I know we're moving towards that. So this is me kind of trying to encourage people to be in their hearts and to connect all of our hearts together. So without further ado, I invite us to bring our awareness into our heart space. Breathing in love. Breathing out anything of the day so far, or the day ahead, or the week. Any fears, any anxieties, anything that's stopping you from being in this now moment. So connecting my heart with yours, Melissa, and with everybody watching us live, and on the replay, and on YouTube. And connecting our hearts to the heart of Gaia, to the heart of the sun, and to the heart of Source Creator. And feeling us all together in this one unified field of love. I'm actually visualizing a beautiful golden web of light that's going all the way around the globe. So all of us watching are like little points of light along this web, and sending love from our hearts to the heart of Gaia, and really feeling her love and her recognition of all of us and her gratitude. And in doing so, I'm also feeling a lot of joy. Okay. Welcome.
What's happening?
How are you doing? How's the energies for you at the moment?
Today, I'm very grateful for hot showers, makeup, and hoodies. Because to be honest with you, I spent most of today tucked up in my bed with my daughter watching whatever she wanted to watch. and just feeling the feels. I woke up this morning, and I guess this is the ride we're on, isn't it? I can go from a space of, you know, writing yesterday, doing a live, blowing up my computer, to just staying in bed all day, just in deep in stuff. And it's the trippiest space. I was saying to you earlier, it's the trippiest place because, geez, our minds are assholes. Our minds are just, they're relentless. So, in the middle of observing the chaos of the mind, you've got the refuge of the stillness of your heart at the same time.
Beautiful.
And so I wrote about it this morning, and I wrote, feel it and then let it go. And that's pretty much like by 9:30 this morning, that's what I was in. And I knew I was in it. So I have the space now, thank God, to, as it hits, I can be with it. I don't try, generally speaking, to try and run from it. So today I wrote it, and then I just got comfortable with it. I got in it, literally in it.
And that's the real secret. And I think that's what we're unlearning from what we used to do, because, before, that's what we did. If something was too much, we'd do our best to kind of like squash it, put it over there, deal with it later.
Yeah.
And later doesn't really come until it, it's really there in front of us and, slaps us in the face. And even in that, we often don't want to do it. I think it's a new way of learning. It's a new approach to really fully allow ourselves to feel it, to properly feel it. Because there's all these judgments quite often of, well, I shouldn't be feeling this. Why am I feeling this? It doesn't make any sense. Well, feelings don't really make sense. Yeah. And we try and pretend that it's not spiritual to be feeling that way, or, whatever programs we're kind of attaching to that.
Yeah.
But if we're feeling it, we're feeling it, and we can't pretend we're not. And the only way,
opposite, isn't it?
Yeah. The only way to work through things is to feel it.
Yeah. It's the polar opposite to what I know I've been shown or taught or learned. It's, Melissa, you're a mother and you've got your house to fix up, or you've got to sort food for the kids, you've got to do the laundry, you've got to do this, or else it's you've got to get up, you've got to go to work, you've got to show up. You can't take time out. There's too much to do. What will your mother think? Whatever it might be, I don't know. And I used to do it. I used to give myself, like, I could be in the thick of things. And I had really bad anxiety as well. And I would let that just pummel me to the ground, and I would go under with it. And I would really give myself a hard time. And now I just jump into bed or do whatever. It could be like, excuse me, it could be go for a walk. It could be a duvet day. It could be anything. But I'll give it to myself now, whereas I wouldn't have before. Yeah. And I think that's really important. I think it's to acknowledge sometimes, and especially lately, the shit's hitting the fan for everybody. And we're all meeting ourselves. We're meeting whatever is, out of alignment with ourselves, whatever it might look like. And I think half the battle is if you can acknowledge it, if you can just acknowledge it within yourself. I don't feel so good right now, or I feel epic equally, and celebrate that. It's the two ends of it, isn't it? And this is such a roller coaster of emotions right now. It's such a roller coaster. And I said it to someone earlier today, I don't think I have the height requirement to ride this roller coaster some of the times, but I still jump on anyway, because I know what's out the other side of it, like you say, is worth it. The clarity you get from allowing yourself to feel, it's huge. It's huge. And it's worth it. It might not feel like it because, like you said, everybody, you know, in your past, it's not what you were told. You know, get on with it. Get up, you know, get up and get on with it. Don't be so sensitive. Don't be
Yeah.
so emotional. What's wrong? Look at all the things you've got going in your life. And you've no idea what another person is going through. You've no idea where they're at on their journey. And if you're not going to be an asshole to somebody else, then don't be an asshole to you either. So that's the way I look at it. I'm winging it most of the time, to be honest with you. But yeah, it is definitely a roller coaster.
And the feelings, you know, you can be happy as 1 minute, and the next you're just blubbing on the floor, you're on your knees.
Yeah.
And it's so much more bipolar than it ever used to be. Like the polarities are really, really quite evident in the emotions too. And everything just is switched on that much louder. I know for me, one of my most intense times, 2001. So a very close friend of mine died, and she'd introduced me to Reiki. She was like my rock, and I knew that when I was ready to split up with my ex, as he is now, but my partner at the time, that she was going to be the one that helped me through it. So losing her at that particular time was just huge, and it's that thing of as soon as you wake up, you feel it. Like there's no let up. You're just like, oh yeah, that's right, that's what we're doing, and everything is turned on to max. But I'd never felt so alive either as I did at that time, because every feeling, you can't pretend you're not feeling it. You have to just fully feel those feels. And it's almost like we're doing that now, but without, like, it feels very similar in lots of ways. It's kind of like I can't turn those down at the moment. Whatever I'm feeling, I just need to feel, and maybe take myself off somewhere and allow myself to express it in some way. And I always try and, you know, there were times in Byron where I just have this rage inside me and not know what to do with it.
Yeah.
But I also don't necessarily want to kind of uncleanly just put that rage out there. I don't want to fire it at somebody. I always kind of felt a little bit reserved with Mother Nature and thinking, you know, bless you, you've got enough to do really at the moment. I remember one time there was a branch of a tree that was on the ground, and I was kind of like, I wonder if I smashed that, like how how that will feel. And you know, if anyone had come across me, I would just have looked like an absolute crazy person. And I was kind of like smashing this branch, and it was, what's the name of the, I can't remember the name of the tree, but it's almost hollow. So it's a very satisfying thing to smash up because it all kind of like breaks really easily. I think it's, it'll come to me when I stop trying to find it. And I was smashing it against the trunk of a tree, and then I made a little chip in the trunk, and I'm like, I'm sorry, and like putting my hand on the tree, and always kind of like violet flame myself so that when it comes out, it's instantly transmuted. But I think, you know, writing it down for me really helps, but those are like the splurges. And I used to find that I would be in a loop. You know, you'd feel like you'd got somewhere with a particular emotion or something, and then your default setting would go back to it, and you'd just get in this loop. You'd think you'd move through it, and then you'd be back to it again. And the only way at that time that I could really get past that was just to go bleh on the page. However crazy it sounded, even if it wasn't sentence after sentence, but just like words or whatever was in my head, I had to just splurge on the page and then burn those. Those are not the pages that you want to like look at again. But I think you do that in quite a beautiful way. You and Michael often, you know, that comes out as something really beautiful at the end of it, which is such an amazing way of transmuting something, of releasing it.
There's so much I want to say right back to what you've said, and I know for a fact I'm going to forget it all. Oh wow, where do I begin? I get it. I mean, my the lid of my bin flew across the kitchen this morning, for example, right? And I was okay with that. When I was listening to you speak about, you know, about this anger rising within you, I'm in awe of the amount of times where, you know, we have felt that it's not okay for that anger to come up, or that rage to come up, or to be that pissed off, like I said, that the lid of the bin goes across the floor, right? No creatures or anything were harmed in the doing of this. But, and even listening to what you said there, I smashed up the branch, and then I took a piece out of the tree and it's like, oh, I'm sorry. And that's nearly like what we're hardwired to do.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry for getting pissed off.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for speaking my truth. I'm sorry I lost my shit. And it's the easiest thing in the planet to say sorry to the external, and we're probably the last people that we give that empathy or that compassion to, and that's kind of what breaks my heart a little bit. You know, similarly, when you spoke about the passing of your friend, and about the grief you felt, the loss you felt, and not knowing what to do with it, and feeling very alive at the same time, because you will have had that absolute stark realization that this is not a dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
That comes with the loss of somebody like that. It's my own dad's anniversary next Monday, and there's nothing like that, you know, on the calendar to remind you. Granted, you know yourself, you always recall these people in your heart every single day. But trying then to compartmentalize your grief, compartmentalize your loss, or your fear, we didn't know how to do that.
Yeah.
And I guess, you know, this morning when I woke, I could just feel this immense grief within my whole body, and a piece of me knows where it stems from, and a piece of me is wondering where and why. And, you know, as I'm observing this, I wrote it again. You know, you're talking about how you know, how liberating it is to write this stuff down sometimes. I wrote what I wrote this morning, and with it I witnessed myself and my own internal battle with surrender. Yeah. Straight away. Can I read this, if you don't mind? Can I just share this? Because I don't know, it might help somebody else. I don't know. Look at me gone from please don't embarrass me reading my stuff to let me read it. But only because I've realized just how, like I said, cathartic it is actually to get this up and out. This is, I would, like, literally word for word, this is how I was feeling this morning. Every piece of what I wrote, feel it, let it consume you, let it tear you up, let it take you down, let it course through every fiber of your being with no resistance. Feel it, let it ache to your core, let it burn everything to the ground. Let your heart smash into a million pieces if it needs to. Let your sacred tears fall to the floor in reverence for what the heart has endured. Feel it. Let it have its way with you. Let the waves cleanse and wash away everything that is not true. Let it rise and let it fall. Let it hurt and then let it go. Let go. And as I finished writing that, and I read it back, I was like, shit, I'm going toe to toe with surrender here, and I am not winning. And I'm not going to win. And I can, you know, I can face it down, and I can stay here all day if I want to. But this is a battle I'm not gonna win. I have no control over anything that's going on in my life at the moment, anything that's going on in my world, the things that are trying to leave, the things that are trying to come in. It's like I said, it's the greatest roller coaster ever. And I've never been in such a clear space to witness it all as it's happening. But I've also never been in such a place that I can actually see my resistance as it comes up. And so for me today, it was just to feel everything. And tomorrow, who knows what it'll be like? It doesn't even matter, because I guess the important thing is to try and, when these waves hit, when and like you said, you described it earlier on. 1 minute you're sky high and you can take on the world, and the next minute you're on your knees crying, and that's how rapidly this hits. And it's enough to make a person feel like they're losing their shit, and they are not. They're not. They're just for the first time realizing that it's okay to feel. That it's okay to let these emotions or these thought processes or whatever it is come up, that it's okay to recollect an experience like you just recalled, and that it's okay to lose someone, it's okay to miss somebody, it's okay to feel sadness at their loss, and equally sadness at what, and this is a big one for me, sadness at what or how you thought things would be. And now you're in the face, quite literally, of them going either way. So surrender for me it's a big thing.
Surrender is really interesting, and it's not really what we have the idea that it is. Surrender's not necessarily kind of like giving up on something. It's not. It's kind of not to do with a battle. It's often used in that context of losing.
It's to give in.
And it is. It's hands up and not trying to like control it. It's not trying to force an outcome, but just allowing. Like, to me, the word allowing really goes with surrender. It's just, really allowing it to be, and allowing yourself to feel. And when Yasmin was in intensive care, there were times when we laughed so hard, like not by her bedside, but outside, maybe having a cigarette or whatever. And then you're like, oh, is that okay to be laughing right now? And it so is. Like, laughter is such an amazing way of really pulling that deep stuff up and out. And that's why when you have those massive belly laughs, those big guffaws, that you feel so tired afterwards. It's like crying. You're just kind of depleted and exhausted because you've let so much out. You've let so much go. But I'm a big advocate of the laughter. I'm a big advocate of the crying as well, but given the choice,
I'm definitely the one who laughs in inappropriate places every time. I can't help it. I love what you just said. It's not a fight. It's not giving up. It's giving in. My history, I left claw marks on everything I ever tried to let go of. And I did that from a place of survival, thinking that I had to, thinking that I'm going to die, we're going to die, this is going to die, and making everything a million times worse. But I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't realize that the more I cling to something, the more I resist something, the more it persists, the more I, it's the awesome saying, let go or be dragged. I've been dragged everywhere because I didn't know that it was actually the safest thing to do for me to let go. And I think that's why, our world is in quite a lot of turmoil right now. So much is changing. Everything is changing. I mean, impermanence is a given. Impermanence is a given, irrespective of what's going down, pandemic or whatever it might be. It doesn't matter. Impermanence is a given, and yet we fight it. I don't want this to change. I don't want you to change. I don't want the scenario to change. And we're always expanding. And I mean, that's what we're here for. We're here for the growing. We're here for the expansion. We're here for the change. And yet we resist it so much all the time. And we don't even realize we're doing it. That's what I was saying last night when I was speaking with Todd and Mike Delia, that what concerns me is that these programs are so up in our faces, like that we don't even realize that we're holding on. We don't realize what resistance is, because we're hardwired for it. We've been conditioned for it since we could speak, you know. And that's what kind of scares me the most. um and I hope that people at this stage, when they allow themselves to feel, trust trust their body, trust their heart, trust their head, trust the whole lot enough to know when something doesn't feel right, when something is out of alignment, when you know, and then to have the courage to do something about that. Because, you know, if you become aware enough that something isn't okay and then you don't do anything to remedy it, take some action steps, even if it is removing yourself from a situation, or going for a walk, or taking a duvet day, whatever it might be. It just leads to more. It just leads to more. So yeah, that's been a big one for me.
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of the walking in nature, because so many things just, your head is so much clearer, and so much dissolves from your body as you do it as well. And I find it like a meditation. I can connect with myself a lot more out in nature and ask myself questions, and hear the answers more clearly. Like I can hear my higher guidance coming in way more easily. And some people find that easier, like when you're just having a bit of a stomp and your body's got something to do to kind of distract it a little bit. I find the message is so much clearer.
Yeah.
So if you're in resistance, how do you, and even, you know, sometimes I've just got the image before of the deep grooves in the soil behind me, but unless, you know, we don't always see them, but they're, you know, from being dragged, and just like, but how do you know, how do you feel yourself when you're in resistance?
How do I feel in you know,
Yeah,
in
how do you
myself?
know? Yeah.
Oh my god, it's like somebody just cranked up the volume and everything. My I When I'm in resistance, the bullshit that comes into my head is outrageous. The stories I tell myself are off the charts. And the scenarios I play out to the death. If anybody else told me what they were, you know, if anybody else told me this, as in what I'm thinking, I'd be like, are you for real? Like, what are you doing? Why are you doing that to yourself? You know, um, my body, sometimes it feels like I can't breathe. Like I can't get enough air into my lungs when I try to take a breath. It can feel like there is a concrete slab on my chest. It feels like my back is completely constricted. My whole body signals this to me. My heart feels like it's breaking. The disconnect I have within myself is so painful. Again, because what happens is, keep it in mind, I've spent the majority of my life searching for connection outside of myself the hard way. So the second I have or go into any sort of resistance, my whole body, like that, will signal, you're disconnected from me. You're disconnected from all of these aspects of me. And you've two choices now. You can stay in that shit pit over there, or you can reconnect with me. And like you just said, for you, like you go walking in nature. Not so much. I might get some Norse Viking music on, and that just transports me. It just, every time I can just get out of my head and bring it back in here, because I haven't got a clue what they're saying in the music. I just feel the music, the drums, the vibration of it, and those powerful voices. So it takes me back into my heart very quick. And then I remember how it feels to be back in my heart, and it feels spacey, and it feels like I can breathe again, and my back and my body releases up again, and I can think clearly, and it's like I can like literally say to myself, "Are you finished now? Are you finished giving us such a hard time? Because that's not what we're here for." I was like, "Ah, okay." But then compassion rises, and I don't beat myself up
Nice.
for going there, which is really cool because again, I would have done that for so long.
Yeah.
And I can hear, I can hear the wisdom from whoever it comes, wherever it comes, from me, from another aspect of me, signaling, telling me, communicating with me that I'm in resistance to whatever, and just to let go, reminding me that change is inevitable, suffering is optional, and we can do it the hard way or the easy way. I definitely know the difference between the two. And so now I choose the latter. And that now for me, time and time and time again, is me choosing me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't control anything outside of me. I can't control anyone outside of me, nor do I have a single ounce of interest in doing. I don't want to. My priority is me. Let your priority be you, and we'll dance in the middle. But for me, it's just to maintain my center, to stay in my lane, to keep my heart and my mind in sync, because that's where the biggest battle for me lies.
Yeah.
Is the disconnect between these two, because I have a very powerful mind and a very powerful heart, and we all are at work a lot better when everybody's in sync and in harmony. When they go against each other, that's when everything kicks off. And then that spills out into my world, it spills out into my home, into my relationships, into everything. It stops me creating anything that I want to create. It stops me having the energy or the interest to show up for myself. I'm not going back there again. I don't give a shit. I'm not going back there again. So if for self-preservation I need to take a step back from something or someone or whatever it might look like, I'm going to do it now. And I will then deal with whatever comes when it comes. And that's all I can do. That's a pretty long-winded answer, but
That was an awesome answer.
yeah, I know very clearly when I'm in resistance now. I think everybody does, though. Everybody does.
Once you start to recognize it, it's
yeah.
once you know how you are in resistance. I guess for me, it's something like that childlike. I don't want to, and I'll get that image of those grooves in the ground, and me kind of like being dragged a little bit.
Yeah.
And then it's a matter of holding me as that little child, and just loving that little child. And almost sometimes it's almost like you have to hear that part of you that's in resistance to to kind of acknowledge what it's feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And then often that's all that's needed. You can then, okay, we're done with that now. This may not feel entirely comfortable, but I know what path
You
where
hit the
I'm
nail
going
on the
with it.
head. You hit the nail on the head right there when you said it's like the little child in me leaving the marks in the soil being dragged, right? And that's what happens.
Mm.
It's a version of you stepping forward whose needs were never met,
Mm.
asking you to meet them now.
Yeah.
And I love this shit because the place, that I've worked to get to is that I thankfully can discern who's speaking now.
Yeah.
If it's the kid version, if it's the teenager, like I said before, she's got a lot to say, and so on. is that I'm aware of who's speaking, and I'm aware that I'm the person in control now. And I'm aware that that version of me who's kicking off or acting out didn't get what she needed through no fault of anybody. You know, it just is. She didn't get what she needed, but it's up to me now with the awareness to give her that. Um, and the only way you can become aware of that is to quite literally reparent yourself and dismantle, you know, all of these things. Like as a small child, you could have been, you know, told not to be so whingy, or not to be moaning all the time, or not to be complaining all the time. And then, you know, as a grown up, you could find yourself in a work environment with a boss who's just an asshole, right? You don't realize the correlation between the two. Your kindness is being mistaken for weakness as a grown up, and then as the grown up, you feel, well, I can't turn around and say to him, please don't speak to me like that. I don't speak to you like that. Please don't think it's okay to speak to me like that. Well, because you've got the perception of, well, this is the boss and I'm the employee. When no, you're both human. You don't speak to somebody else like that, so therefore it's not okay for them to speak to you. But as the kid, you were told you can't, and therefore as the adult, you don't. And there, right there, is just a tiny example of how our programs are running us, and where they stem from and where they originate from, and how imperative it is for each and every person, if they want to embark on this journey of giving themselves this peace, this space, this self-love, that they identify what it is that's playing out, or what is running them in you know, a tiny example like that. And again, you know, to be aware enough that, like, I'm very mindful today, for example, of the grief and loss in my world. I'm aware of the timeline coming up with my dad's anniversary Friday. I'm aware of other personal bits and pieces that are going on in my world at the minute that are that cause uncertainty. Um, that in that space, like for example, my mom has cancer, so she's dealing with that at the moment, right? And so my dad died of cancer. So history has taught me the grief and pain and trauma and heartbreak that come with just the word cancer, even though they're two different people, two different scenarios, two different timelines, two different energies, two different experiences. And so it would be so easy to get pulled into the fear that, oh my God, my mom is going to die of cancer. I'm going to lose her. I can't possibly comprehend a world where the two of them aren't in it. I can't go, you know, through the idea of missing her. I can't. And then poof, you blow up. Your whole world blows up over something that hasn't even happened. My mom's not even entertaining the cancer in her body, never mind me, you know. But it's the most simplistic thing to do, and that's just a tiny example of how we can get pulled into the similarity of the feelings of things that have come up from our past in our present, and forget that we have the power, the control, the discernment, and the capacity to take action steps to do something so that you don't go under, and allow everything to go under with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a reminder to be in the now as well. There's so many things around at the moment about, but that's over there. You don't need to be dealing with that over there, because that's over there, it's not here.
Yeah.
While still not pushing things down.
It's a battle. What it's like trying to manage it all. It's like, don't run back to what broke you, but don't close your heart to the new. Don't suppress how you feel, but don't go spewing your shit all over everybody else. Be here now while you recall and access the memories of your past that allow you to take better action steps and make better choices now. It's a shit show if you're not aware of how much you actually do or can manage within your own emotions and within your own thoughts and your own feelings. And you know, if anybody watching this gets one thing from that, it's maybe just to remind yourself that you are the captain of your own everything, your own ship, your own everything. What are you doing with it? Are you driving your ship into the up onto the shore, onto the rocks, tearing the arse out of it? Or are you out in the middle of the ocean with the sails wide open, you know, not knowing where the wind's taking you, enjoying the experience, you know? Look, I'm the first to admit, you know, I'm on the rocks there one minute and I'm in the ocean the next, and that's just where we are right now. And I think if we can allow ourselves to get comfortable in that space, I think we'll be doing ourselves a lot of good. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And really, it's so key to be gentle with ourselves no matter what's going on, to love ourselves, because so much of this is showing us parts of us that we haven't loved and accepted yet, parts of us, and to just really be gentle with ourselves. I used to be really, I'd give everyone else a lot more kind of slack than I would give myself. And it was said in a reading to me once, you're really mean to yourself. And I was like, what? I didn't think I was hard enough. But I've learned, you know, that's almost 20 years ago. I've learned in that time. I'm not saying I've perfected it. It's still ongoing. And to see the humor in things, I laugh at myself a lot. And that's not done in a disparaging way. It's just that a lot of the things we do are really hilarious.
Yeah. And the things we put ourselves through. Yeah. It's like that cartoon when you see like the angel and the devil on somebody's shoulders and stuff. You know, my inner asshole has definitely been silenced quite a lot now, because I can catch it. Yeah. I can catch it and say, listen, you know what? I know you're just trying to protect me, or you think you are. And I know you're just trying to keep me safe, or you think you are. But I got this. So can you just pipe down a small bit? I love you. Come here. You know, and embrace what we know, what you're witnessing within your mind, within your head. And just, you know, like you said, be kind and laugh. Because I mean, I'm looking back 6 hours ago and I'm laughing at myself going, seriously. You know, everything's okay. Everything's always okay in the end. And if it's not okay, it's not the end. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think for a lot of us at the moment, it's the separation wound that is at the core of such a lot in my world anyway, that's going on at the moment. And we can attach it to certain things, but really it doesn't matter what the external, I can't think of the word, but what the external factor is that's going on. It's probably not really got anything to do with that. It's just something inside us that is trying to get our attention. That's you know, been whispering in our ear for a while. It's been getting a bit louder, but it's often not until it's right there in our face that we're like, oh, there you are.
Yeah. You know, I love that as well. When for me, this is just, I guess, from my vantage point, when there's something outside of me that I want to experience or I want to achieve, and I'm not, for whatever reason, I'm aware now to understand that I'm not in a good, I'm out of whack vibrationally within myself. And when I can stabilize this and sustain that space vibrationally speaking, what's for me comes to me with ease. There's no effort. And so if I'm feeling or experiencing separation outside of me, I know by default I'm experiencing separation within me.
Yeah.
And that's where I go now. And for me personally, that's by doing the zero pointing process. And I will go and I will reforge that connection within myself, and then take myself back out into the world. But not until I've done that now. Because again, you're talking about the resistance before. A disconnection feels the exact same way. All of these big things, separation, disconnection, grief, loss, trauma, whatever it might be, they all impact us now. But they impact me anyway, rather, the same way. My body responds, my heart responds, my head responds, all the same way. So for me, I know that I am the source of my own everything. I am everything that I need, and it all exists within me first. And so my map to get back to that place is to go within and to clear anything within me that doesn't feel right here. And how will I know? Because it plays and plays and plays here until it stops. And that's how I know it's done.
Mm-hmm. And
I do that via the process. And it's just changed my entire world, really.
So tell us about the process. Tell us what you do in that.
I started this process in 2019 with Morgan, and this year I just went to complete ground with it. We're pretty much doing what I'm talking about right there. I mean, everything and anything. People who triggered me, situations and history that kept repeating without. I mean, I would say, I'm doing the work on myself. I'm doing the inner work, and yet then patterns repeat, scenarios repeat, people being the same way with me would repeat, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong here? Without understanding that, these things were running inside of me. Therefore, if I'm feeling them, if I'm thinking them, if I'm believing them, then the world's going to match what's running inside of me. Of course it is. It has to. And so with this process, what you do is via your thoughts, again, your beliefs, emotions, your feelings, your experiences, you get to call them, you get to name them, you get to feel them, you get to relive them, you get to experience them. And I don't mean from a, when I say relive, I should have said recall. You get to recall them, because what you're doing is you're recalling them in the now moment with the realization and understanding that they are the past, that these are situations with people or experiences that you have created, that have been created rather for you, by you, but also the understanding, I'm done with this shit. I don't want this to repeat anymore. I don't want to find myself in a situation where I'm not seen or heard, or where I'm taken for granted, or where I'm unappreciated, or where I can't feel safe to vent, express how I feel, where I want to be loved. I want the experience of being loved in the way that I love. Where I don't want to be terrified to come on and do something like this and open my mouth and have a conversation, because that's all we're doing. We're having a conversation. No one's going to die, But me a year ago, they'd be like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. And so I would be a wreck because of it. So I was robbing myself of my own life, my own experiences, my own. I used to think, these things didn't exist, they're not real or whatever, until I started doing this process and I started clearing. Then I start opening my mouth, I start speaking my truth, I start being on the receiving end of the love that I am. And it's just changed my entire life. And now, in addition to, me doing this process, I'm a facilitator as well. So I get to show somebody else how to do this for themselves. I get to, and I'm so humbled by it, I swear to God, when I witness another person realize that it's all in their hands. It's all at their pace. It's all, how deep they want to go with themselves. There's no more looking outside of you for anything. There's no more putting, a person or a modality or a theory or an experience on a pedestal. This is totally and uniquely yours. And that's what I love about it. This isn't for me, something that I will do now only if the shit hits the fan, even though I have done. And it will take me out of that place pretty much immediately, energy wise. And then physically within a day or two, my whole world is recalibrating right in front of my eyes. And it's miraculous. It actually is. And even more miraculous is the realization of what you have been allowing in your life, what you have been enabling, what you have been enduring at your own hands. And then the realization that you're the creator of your alchemy equally. And that if you say this ends now, it ends now because you're aware. And so the next time I find myself like in a shitty situation with a shitty person who is going through their stuff, yeah, that's fine, but I don't need it in my world, thanks very much. It's like, something pings inside of me, and it's like how do I explain this? It's like accessing a still where the memory comes in as a piece of wisdom to show you, okay, this is what happened then. This is where this originated from. These are the thoughts, beliefs, emotions, feelings, and experiences that you felt as a result of being in this situation. Now, do you want to repeat that? And you're there going, no, I don't. And it's like, okay, cool. And then you put this little piece of information back away, and then you get the choice to respond to the situation that you're in as opposed to react from a place of disempowerment or trauma or whatever it might be. But I do this process now almost as a practice because I want to clear these programs, because I want to live my best life, and I want to experience that, nirvana, as opposed to the samsara that we're all being pummeled by. And when you give yourself the gift of doing this process, you get to feel the difference between those two worlds very starkly. And if you find that you've got yourself back into a situation or a scenario with a person or, an experience that ran you before, it's like floodlights on you. It's like sirens going off. It's like your whole body kicks off, and you won't as the adult in charge in the now moment put any version of you from any timeline through any of that shit again. You just won't. And that's what empowers the place where I choose myself now over and over again. Because by doing the 0 pointing, I have broken down time and time and time again this wall that has been in front of me to keep me safe. But a wall not built with my thoughts or my beliefs or my emotions or my experience, but the influence of other people and things and situations. And then what it does is it gives you the freedom to rebuild a foundation where it's your true beliefs. Like, so very starkly if you dishonor yourself right now, you're going to be shown fairly quickly, or where you have disrespected yourself or any of these things. So this new foundation that you build on is from an empowered place of your truth, what's true for you, what you understand and has resonance with you in your heart, and not somebody else's is, second hand, third hand, fourth hand, because guess what? This is generational. Their stuff coming at you. You get to build it from your own sovereign space. And it's just magic. It's just magic. I'm so excited every time I'm privileged enough to sit across from a person and witness them realize they're about to change their whole entire trajectory, their whole entire life, the whole way that they see the world, and the whole I'm sorry, I lose my shit sometimes. But it's the realization that the whole world outside is going to line up and match with who they are, who they truly, truly are. It's like what's happening in my own world right now and all the time. Even though I have, a dodgy day like today, and I'm allowed to have them, and I'll keep having them, I'll keep taking them. What they do is they give me the space to reset,
Mm-hmm.
so that when I'm doing something as cool as this, having a cool conversation with you, telling you about something like this, you can see me. I can't dull this shit down. I can't, and I don't want to, because it's what lights me up. And that's what I just love to see more and more and more of, that people understand that they can both give themselves and be the reset, and that they have, that there are, it might not be 0 point and it might be something else, but that there are tools and ways and means out there for people to give themselves all of what I just described. But it's in their hands what you want to do. Do you want to stay playing the game, or do you want to, step out of it and create your own?
And you are a really beautiful example of how it's worked. And I remember, writing this as a comment when you were on with Todd, that I could really see a big change in your energy field. And I hadn't really connected with you so much before. Like I'd seen you sometimes on with Todd, and I don't even know if I saw the whole show, but that one fairly recently, the first of the recent ones when you came back on,
Yeah.
everything just looked different.
Yeah.
Everything looked different about you. You sounded different. Your energy was, and still is, completely different from how it used to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're right, it was. And it continues to grow and expand. And some days I'm really excited about it, and some days I'm like, stop, I want to get off. But it is and was different because I had cleared so much within me. You know, everybody's doing their best all of the time. But what if you don't even realize that you can give yourself so much more? And that's the place I came from, you know. Um, and I have, and my books are over there, my little notebooks are over there. I I'm relentless with this. I am I am fierce with this, because I know I deserve that freedom from my old life, my old way of thinking and seeing things that would have triggered the shit out of me before. People, judgments, criticism, things coming at me. I'm listening and laughing sometimes when I listen to somebody say something that definitely would have got me. Like, I mean, something as tiny as my mom telling me, you overload the tumble dryer all the time. You put too much clothes in the tumble dryer or the washing machine all the time. And I'm like, the old version of me would have been like, oh my God, she thinks you're completely inadequate as a human, completely inadequate mother, completely inadequate person in the house. She loves ironing, you hate it, and inside it. This is the stuff that would have been going on in my head. And now this time I'm just smiling and laughing. And I'm like, this is how she loves me. And I see that now. Imagine living your life thinking somebody who brought you into this world, thinks you're in any way, shape, or form inadequate. No, I'm a mother. I know it runs. No, no. So they're the things I gave myself the gift of. That's a tiny example. Tiny.
So if something comes into your field and you find yourself starting to have like a trigger response, you can feel something brewing inside you. You can feel that that there's some sort of reaction going on in your body. Where do you start with it? Like what are the steps that you kind of go through to 0 point?
So you're talking about, from what I understand from the question, you're talking about like if something big comes up in my face and it's not all, I have the space to go off and do that, what happens?
Yeah. So you can realize, okay, I've got some work to do. Where do you start?
Okay. So it's perfect example, because it happens all the time. All the time. And my closest mirror is an incredible human being, and it's you can forget very quickly that you've got a mirror of you standing right in front of you, and the quickest thing to do is blame them and default and project, right? So I know now that if I do that, it feels really shitty, because the other person in front of me is doing their best in any given day from where they're at, as am I, right? So if anything has come out of my mouth, and it happened, you know, a couple of weeks ago where I just exploded, and I'm like, oh my God, that is not what love looks like. That is not what love feels like. I had to remove myself from the picture. I trust how I feel in my body. I trust how I feel in my heart, and I trust how I feel in my head. I trust my intuition. I trust every piece of me now like I never have before. And if anything feels out of whack in my body, I know I have to remove myself. Sometimes it's not as simple as, you know, I shut my mouth and I walk away. No, sometimes I lose my shit. And sometimes that's necessary too. Sometimes that's very necessary too. And I'm understanding that if I, this isn't a cop out, but if I lose my shit from a place of speaking an unarmed truth with unconditional love for myself, I'm going to do it. If I speak something that's loaded and hurtful or hateful, which I don't think I do, but if I do, and if I ever have to anybody, I'm sorry. But I'll go away with that because I know how it feels. So kind of to answer your question, I really, how everything feels in me now is heightened. It's palpable. So if something doesn't feel right, I know it isn't right. And equally, if I'm in an environment where I'm judging this or this or this, and it all has the same core theme running, again, I know it's mine. It's not them, and it's not this, and it's not the weather. It's me. It's always me. I mean, it's always me, and I know that. But the human, very human version of me who steps back into the story will and can and will get caught in the illusion. Especially if you've got program after program after program compounded and compounded and compounded. You haven't got a chance. And I think that's why there's so much conflict out there right now, because everybody's feelings are heightened, because now we know that it is okay to feel, and it is okay to speak your truth, and it is okay to be seen and loved and all of these things. And we all want to be loved, and we all want to be love. So it's going to come up in your face. It definitely gets a lot easier. The more work I have done, the quicker I will see it, unless it's something huge. And if it's something huge, then I know it's deep-seated. When you 0 point, it's like peeling back layers of an onion, and you just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper, and or else you go off in different directions. It's remarkable, actually. I don't think, I mean, Morgan Lee's been on the receiving end of many conversations or many phone calls with me going, I can't believe this is what this was, or whatever, because I didn't. And then they're so close to our faces that we don't even see them. But yeah, the deeper you go, the more you clear, the more space you create, the more awareness you have, the more discernment you have, the more capacity you have to respond, like I said, as opposed to react. Because reaction is your programming, you know. So yeah, just keep going deeper and deeper. I'll keep going until I take my last breath. This isn't something I don't envisage. This is a something that I'll never, you know, need to stop doing. But I definitely do it, you know. The more I clear, the more aware I am of what comes up as it rises. Yeah.
So for those, thanks for that. And for those that don't know about 0 pointing and are like, oh, this sounds amazing, like, If you could share something about what it is they'll be doing in the zero pointing light process. So they're in a situation where they can feel a trigger. How do they get to the bottom of how do they find those core things that are beneath it? Like what kind of, if you can, what kind of process do you go through to get to that nugget, to find that golden nugget in there? Do you start by thinking, well, how am I feeling right now? Like, am I feeling unheard? And then just supposing it's that, I'm not feeling heard in this situation. What do you do with that? Like, where do you go from there?
So the zero pointing process is broken up at the moment into 6 steps. Steps 1 and 2 are together, 3 and 4, and 5 and 6 at the moment. And in the first session, what we do is we take people back to the beginning, where it all begins. So that's your environment, your parents, the whole environment basically where you would have grown up in. That begins with your family unit, your parents, whether they were present or absent, your siblings, and the core people around you who created the environment that you grew up in. Children learn what they live, and so much of our history is embedded there of the things we experienced. So, you're talking about when you witness what has been passed down to people generationally, everybody was doing their best, but sometimes their best wasn't really serving the person. I'm mindful of this now as a mother equally, so what the zero pointing process will do is you would begin with the parents. In a nutshell, you will access this version of you who's basically across from you right now, and you ask them what are their judgments on the person, what are their thoughts, what are their judgments, what are their projections, how do they feel. I kind of put it under the umbrella of, like I said earlier, your thoughts, beliefs, feelings, emotions, and experience. So you're asking this version of you, when you bring a person to mind, how they see the person. So cloaked judgment of others is cloaked self-judgment. So the person is containing your programs. This isn't something that you go bashing other people with. This is very much a very sacred individual thing where you very privately get to acknowledge the unacknowledged. You get to name now as the adult exactly how you felt. So if I was to bring my mum to mind right now, it's this version of me. What are my judgments, my perceptions, my attachments, my projections of this person? And then what I do when I'm working with somebody is we time travel, and I show them how to encourage them to tap into the kid version, the teenage version, the 20s, the 30s, and so forth, and ask each of them. And it's remarkable because there's things that are buried and might just pop up like on a screen for you. Things that you wouldn't have even thought about, they definitely did for me. And you're given each of these versions of yourself a voice to speak how they felt, or to feel how they felt, and to acknowledge them. And how you're acknowledging them is you're writing down the words. It's as simple as this. You're writing down, you're pinpointing the words. And by doing that, you're taking accountability and responsibility for what it is you have given your energy to. Then there's an invocation process used via the words, the tone of your voice, the vibration that you're speaking, as you bring in the polarity of what it is you've experienced. That takes the whole entire picture to zero, to that 0 point. And in that space of neutrality, you get to see again. So you're literally witnessing what it is you have lived and what it is you want to bring in.
Yeah.
And you're giving your mind the job, because the mind loves a job, to go and find all this information, access all this information. So your mind is so busy that your entire field is recalibrating everything. You're creating new neural pathways. You're recalibrating everything, not just here and now. This is what I love about it. we're the result of the love of thousands. We're also the programming of it. And so we get to do this on behalf of everyone and everything that came before us. So for me, that's like another huge piece of it. You smash the wheel. You smash the wheel so the next generation doesn't have to come in and operate from a place of yours or somebody else's trauma from 5 generations back, you know. Um, the process is done in your own time, in your own space. You've nobody to answer to. You can go as deep as you want. It's all in your hands. That's it, kind of in a nutshell.
And when you say about the polarity, just if you can just speak to that a little bit of what you mean in that, because that's a fairly new thing to shadow work, I think, finding that polarity.
So, like, for example, if I experienced rejection as an adult now, if I experienced rejection, I guarantee you, whoever's watching this can associate the word rejection with multiple people, multiple situations, experiences. It's not limited to one thing. And this is what zero pointing does. It allows you to go after the energy attached to that word with everyone and everything, right? And to call it. A list with your mother, I experienced rejection. A list with your father, rejection. A list with your aunt, rejection. The primary school teacher when you're 5, rejection. The boy who broke your heart when you were 16, rejection. The boss who didn't give you the pay rise because you weren't good enough, rejection. Not being picked for the soccer team, rejection. Being slammed in a Facebook post, rejection. Anything. It's so vast. It's so vast. So even if I say to you to bring that word to mind, you can go off for hours in different directions. What is the opposite? So for me, just for this example, I know I've experienced rejection. I don't want to experience anymore. What do I want? And let me think about that for a second. I want to experience acceptance. Okay, so acceptance for me is the polar opposite. So even by naming the two things, I'm hitting the energy point of one, and then I'm hitting the energy point of the other. And there's a shift immediately when I name, bring to mind, say, like I said, the boyfriend when you're 16, rejection. I get to feel that as the adult. I get to access that memory that the 16-year-old didn't even know what rejection was. Okay? With the awareness as the adult, knowing that the 16-year-old was awesome. She was a phenomenal person. She was lovable. She was feisty. She was fiery. And she was enough. And if I could go back and tell the 16-year-old version of myself, for example, that she was enough, and ask her, what do you want in the middle of this experience? She wants acceptance as well. And so I'm aware enough now, as I have accessed via multiple lists with multiple people or multiple experiences, to diffuse the energy of the word rejection, that the second I'm in a similar scenario where I feel compromised or unsafe or vulnerable, and I think I'm going to be rejected again, I access the memory of it. I have the realization this wasn't true, and acceptance is what I want to experience. So therefore I will be able to quite literally maneuver the experience so that I don't tell myself, you're being rejected right now, Melissa, this is shit, you're going to die, this person's not going to love you anymore, this person thinks this, because all sorts of chaos. This is what I'm saying to you. This is how much chaos goes on in our heads as we do. The other person might not even be thinking that, but in your head you have it sold based on your history and your attachment to all of the things that have gone down. And everybody, I don't care who you are, I don't care how poor you are, how rich you are, how tall you are, how short you are, you have lived this shit, and you will continue to live it, and it will continue to run you unless you can be aware, shit, I'm back in the same scenario. It's the same fears that the 16-year-old brings to the fore. Goes, oh my God, it must be me, I must not be good enough, I must not be lovable enough, this person's going to leave, they're going to leave. You can actually pacify yourself. You can be the source of what you need, which is acceptance in that given moment. You can turn around and tell yourself, you are enough. And in doing that with the person who's in front of you right now, you're also recalibrating the timeline for the 16-year-old who was literally, who lived, I am not enough. That's the gold with this process. You are giving yourself back everything.
That's awesome explanation. So you've got your polarities, you know what you're dealing with, and then you bring in the invocation. And that is a matter of speaking out the invocation with each particular kind of scenario, with each what's on your list.
You see, you take it from the experience basically down onto paper, which is the most simple thing. All that you're left with then, as you've accessed all these timelines and all of these different versions of yourself, is just your notebook with the words. Because you've done a lot of this work and even acknowledging and time traveling and timeline shifting and stuff. You've already shifted. So, and you'll feel it in your body. You'll feel it. And words are going to fail me if I try to explain them, because I just can't. You will feel the energy when you can name rejection from the space and vantage point of the child, the teenager, the adult. You will also feel the shift on all of these levels as the person who knows that they can and have the capacity to bring in the opposite. And as I said, with the invocation, using the words, the actual process that we share when we do these sessions with people, you're given the mind a job while everything else recalibrates. In like one clean soup, it's like, I used the analogy before about uninstalling apps off a phone. That's basically what the actual invocation is doing. It's the same idea as you're speaking it, as you are clearing line by line by line. So each polarity, it's you're clearing the program for rejection. You also clear the program for acceptance, because they're both programs. They both are loaded. And as you do that, you're given, like I said, you're giving your mind a job with the actual words, but the alchemy is happening all the time through the process, all the time. And it's like going over and plugging out a socket from a wall. You literally take the energetic charge from it immediately, and you can feel it within your own body, and then you see your world morph to this more spacious, more free place. It's very, very cool, because you're actually you're realizing in real time just what you have done by going there. A lot of the work over the years, I noticed when we did like inner child work or forgiveness work or all of this stuff, it was like people would nearly be in the depths of it because they're reliving it, and then they've gone there, and then there's like this big gaping void that they've just ventured into, and rightly so. Everybody has been through so much, and then there's like nothing to fill it, if that makes sense. And it's not even that zero pointing fills something. What it does is it gives you the space to feel and be with something, and equally feel and be with the opposite, and go, yes, I choose this. It's to be experienced. It's words, they really do fail me every time I try to explain this.
And is there something to help to find the opposite?
Yeah, when we go through the process with the person, we would I can't really speak for Morgan. When I'm doing the process with somebody else, I show them how to find their stuff, tools and techniques to find their own stuff. So it's not like you go in there and go, I can't think of any words. I'll show you how to do this yourself. And then I just hand it over, and it's just magic. One of the people who I did a session with in early September sends me, and I love seeing the messages ping in the inbox, and it's just this person sharing their pure elation at what they're uncovering themselves. So like a kid at Christmas, and it's epic to witness, because I've been doing it myself, and now to see somebody else, like in this case, make mammoth, big, scary, life-changing moves because they know it's time. It's just everything. It's really, really humbling to be a part of, to be honest. I love it.
Yay, thank you. That makes it really clear. I feel like we're almost complete. Is there anything you want to share before we draw to a close?
No, I'm good. I really appreciate this space, and I really appreciate getting the opportunity to share my madness with you and anybody who's watched. I haven't obviously seen any comments or anything because I've been just I'm here with you. I find
There's lots.
The comments. It's not that I'm ever ignoring anybody, but I can't. My little distracted brain can't do it all. So I just want to stay present with what's happening. But I do appreciate anybody jumping in the comments and stuff. And I'll pop a link in the comments if anybody wants to reach out to me if they've got any questions on zero pointing that I can answer. I'd be more than happy to do so. So I'll pop it in the comments when I'm done.
Brilliant.
But thank you. I really appreciate it, Denise. It was awesome.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been an awesome chat. Thank you.
Thanks a million.
And I'm just gonna. I don't normally do this, but I got the nudge to try this at the end of the show as well, to kind of like bring it to a close, to invite us all actually back to our heart space and breathing in love again, and still feeling that beautiful connection to our hearts and the unified field of love. So, thank you everybody who has joined us. Thank you, Melissa, so much. And thank you to everyone who joins on the replay or on YouTube. And if you've enjoyed this, please feel free to pass it on if you think people will find it useful. Please share. And there is a Love Speaks Love Facebook page where all of the Love Speaks Love chats are. And the YouTube channel is Inner Peace with Denise.
Awesome.
Which is a bit corny, but it kind of sticks in your memory.
Perfect.
And I may be back tomorrow. Not quite sure about that, but I will keep you posted. So, bye everyone. See you soon.
Thanks.